Welcome to another YouTube video. I say another. I haven't been posting over here a lot, and this video you're about to watch is a video that I've been really excited to post for a long time, but I just haven't had the essentially the time to do it because the editing software that I'm using has been really finicky. Essentially, everything's been really finicky. I've been meaning to get this video for a very long time. I finally can put it out today, and all the other YouTube videos that I've planned will be coming out very soon as well. But this one, more important than any other video that I am probably going to make this year. Because I'm such a goof with technology, there's a couple instances in here where you'll see a camera cut out a little bit, a couple other random alert box issues. For example, I muted all my alerts in this stream that you'll watch live in the YouTube video. But evidently my computer wanted to play the alerts anyway, and I'll try to edit that out, but essentially you're probably going to hear all of it. The point of this interview is I reached out to Trevor May to interview him on my stream about what it's like to be a ball player, what it's like to be a streamer on top of all that, and all the other things that are interesting about the life of Trevor May. I try to ask about in questions, especially about this baseball season we just had conclude as the Dodgers won the World Series last night, and now Trevor May, at the time of you watching this video, is a free agent. He is no longer a Minnesota Twin, but at the time of the recording, he was a Minnesota Twin, and whether he comes back or not is one of the questions he might answer in this video, and I hope you enjoy it. Also, make sure to leave a like and share this to someone that is a big baseball fan or a fan of Trevor May, as I'm sure they would love to see it. Also, if you would like to see anybody else interviewed on this stream moving forward, please comment it below. I can't guarantee that it'll happen, but I might as well give it a shot. But with a very long delay in putting this video out, I finally will bring you the interview that I had with free agent pitcher and streamer on Twitch, Trevor May. Now we're good.
All right.
So first of all, thank you for sitting down to do this interview really quick. Well, not really quick, like a 15-minute interview here. I reached out to you a couple months ago, but you understandably are a really busy person. For those in my chat who don't know who this is Trevor May. As of right now, a reliever for the Minnesota Twins, a partnered streamer on Twitch. May contain action podcasts. We can throw all your links in at the very end as well. But the reason why I want to do this interview is because I've loved watching you on Twitch, and I've loved watching you in the majors pitch for the Twins. And I have a couple questions that I want to ask to not only let the viewers know a little bit more about what it's kind of like to be a Major League Baseball player, but also how your kind of road to streaming, and now your road to streaming where it's at now, far away from the days of playing Fortnite every single day with Ninja has gone, and how your career's kind of evolved that way.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm glad that we found some time to do it.
Yeah, me too. So I want to begin talking about baseball, and particularly in baseball, you just came off of one of, I would argue, the most historic seasons in the history of baseball, dealing with a shortened season around COVID, dealing with COVID, dealing with an expanded playoff format and everything that came with that. Kind of a two-part question. You had talked about in interviews leading up to the season about your like just views about like the COVID protocols and stuff like that. So first of all, like, did the COVID protocols get easier as the season went on, or was that always a tough battle? And then the second thing is, this was a short season, so do you have any like moments that you remember that didn't feel like a regular season for you?
Yeah. So to answer the first part, some of the stuff got kind of normalized. You got used to wearing masks, and things became kind of second nature to basically you started to feel naked without your mask on, all that kind of stuff. So that became kind of like you just kind of got used to it. Never became quote unquote easy, but some of that stuff just you kind of settled in. But to be honest, they kept adding stuff through the season, so it never got easy. Like the more we got used to things, and it became more part of our daily life, and we thought it was fit to continue to add protocols in order to, I don't know, maintain that image that we're trying really hard, I think. So that's kind of what we were doing, and it it was what it was. I mean, it was just kind of an extra layer of stress, wondering if anyone was gonna mess this thing up for everybody else, or and that kind of stuff. But At the end of the day, like it just was. There was nothing that was like hard by the definition of the word hard. It was like more like think about like 30 inconveniences every day. Like so it just kind of piled up
Yeah.
and it slowly wore on you, if that makes sense. Um and Man, I can't even remember what the second part of your question was. It was
Just basically like this was not a 162 game season. This was a
yeah.
60 game season. So I have a couple other questions specifically about this season, but like, I guess, did you have any big things that stuck out of your head that, well, I guess I'll just tail that in other questions, but going back to like what you were saying with COVID, I remember you talking about in some of your streams about your worries about like people around the clubhouse, like not getting tested enough. Like, did you feel like as players early on, you had to make that a bigger thing of concern for the MLB, or was the MLB like doing a good job of constantly worrying about the other employees outside of like the 26-man roster for the Twins?
I think from the beginning, I think the players were just voicing concerns about certain groups of people, and this was team by team. I think that just everyone has kind of a different dynamic of you know what their roles and what kind of power the roles of the front office or the support staff has. A lot of people were doing multiple jobs that like maybe that same title for another team doesn't have, so they need to be around more. And we raised those concerns to our team. I think the Twins did a great job of listening and just kind of doing their own testing, right? Making sure that those people, even like going above and beyond the basic MLB, league wide stuff. Um, and yeah, the most of the stuff I was talking about in terms of that was just the nature of the game and the nature of like how people come in and out of work. There was just going to be a lot of unknowns just in general, and just and that's just that was just gonna happen. There was no like lockdown protocols that could avoid some of that stuff simply because the way the incubation period was and stuff. Like sometimes you're just not gonna know for 8 days if someone's got it or not, even if they're testing every day. So the nature
Yeah.
of like we could test, every hour, and it wouldn't solve that problem. And so that was just like I tried to make it very clear, like basically there is a lot we can do, but we're going to face diminishing returns at some point to where like testing every one, like if I'm just perpetually spitting into a cup, that's not going to make me less likely than getting tested once a day. It's about the same. The odds of catching it are about the same. So um it's like it was just like stop. I didn't like the narrative that like we can lock this thing down because just the nature of us moving around and traveling and stuff. There was just going to be a lot of moving parts that were unforeseen. So that's kind of the narrative that I was just trying to make sure that everyone was aware of, just so that like I don't know, we were just in a weird battle between who we're going to blame, the players or the MLB. You know what I mean? We got it turned into that really
Yeah.
fast, and so that's kind of where a lot of my stuff came from. That's why I say the things that I said. It's just because I there was a lot of like attempts to absolve the group of people or the people that initiated a season in under these circumstances, from any sort of blame from anybody getting a virus that that is just around. Right. So like that's kind of what it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we got very, very lucky and we did a really good job. The Twins did a phenomenal job. The organization did a great job. And I couldn't be I don't think we could have done a better job.
Yeah, that was really good to see with Twin, because I'm a Twins fan specifically, so I paid attention to a lot of it, and it definitely was awesome to see how well the organization handled things, and still tying into baseball, something that you were a big proponent of, that I and many other people that play MLB The Show enjoyed, was going back to before we even knew we were going to have a season to watch you guys play. You were one of the main orchestrators of starting the MLB The Show Players League. You represented the Minnesota Twins in said Players League. I just kind of want to know when that idea and how that idea came into your head, and if you have any plans of maybe expanding something like that in the future.
To be honest, we have always had ideas around around that kind of thing. To be honest, when I'm approached by any sort of outside brands or anything that's not in the baseball space, there's always inquiries on how I can leverage myself as a baseball player and involve other players in something. So like, there's been a lot of brainstorming around like, what if we had, you know, just only baseball tournament, and there was a MLBPA. We put on a Fortnite tournament once too, the year before that in 18, the off season of 18. So, um, and then that was pretty cool, but like it wasn't done as well from a content standpoint. And we could have done a better job there, but that was something I was involved in and had a little bit of a hand in with, like, kind of talking and brainstorming to get that involved. And then when everyone's schedules opened up, there was a really, really good, I think, dichotomy between the quarantine happening and everyone having a bunch of time, all the baseball players having a bunch of time, and then the idea that now that everything is digital, a lot of guys were then, like, their agencies and their managers and things were, hey, you should start to include some sort of internet presence in your brand building, and that's become really popular as well over time. And so everyone got a bunch of time, and that's being emphasized. So this just made sense. We could get basically we could pitch it to a bunch of guys, and they would be much more likely to participate. That's what happened. Finding 30 players was actually a lot easier, I think, than we thought it would be. And the one thing I was worried about is like 5 to 7 of the guys not really like being into it and not really wanting to play after the first few games, and then just kind of like not showing up. You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
only had one person drop out. Only the Red Sox didn't finish out the season, and that was a really good. That was bound to happen. Stuff comes up, and it's just becomes a lower priority. I totally get that. But it went out. It was really smooth. It went really well for pretty much the whole time. The playoffs went really well, and it was a lot of fun to watch. A lot of upsets and a lot of the format was pretty cool. The 3 inning thing was fun to watch and made every out count. So it was good. It's a lot of fun, and I got to beat the commissioner, and there was a bunch of meetings with Sony talking through what we could do and how it could work, and the facilitators on their end that were running the broadcast with the MLB, and having Robert Flores on there hosting the whole thing because he's a huge player. It was a lot of cool things came together, and I got to talk to some of the young phenoms that that were the all the MLB hypes building up, rightfully so, with Fernando Tatis and Bo Bichette and Cole Tucker. I got to play against all you guys and have interviews and chill, and Josh Hader. It was pretty cool. It was fun.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the things that I love the most. Like, there was a lot of players that I know of in baseball, but I don't know like how they act in front of a camera. Like, a lot of us fans don't know how they act. So it was really fun to see that personality side come out. And one of the reasons why I admire what you do and like guys like Trevor Bauer a ton is that you have multiple different avenues of media that you show. So it's not just Trevor May playing baseball. It's Trevor May on Twitch. It's Trevor May with your podcast. And I think that you like orchestrating that Players League gave a lot of those guys who haven't maybe thought of like doing a YouTube or doing a Twitch, like maybe made them think about it. Because I know Blake Snell streams, but outside of that, I don't know how many of those other guys stream.
Yeah, there's a few guys streaming, and I, to be honest, I've had some behind the scenes talks with some agencies and managers already in the video game space with how they've picked up athletes in the last year or two. And they've offered to have me participate and whatever that is. But like, I know Bryce Harper came in and has played Fortnite with people. Snell streams. Giolito has streamed off and on a little bit. Actually, he was actually already streaming before all this stuff, just every once in a while. And I think I know that Lux has streamed more since. I think Cody Bellinger streamed a little bit more since. Some guys it piqued their interest a little bit, but in terms of just stream as much as I do, you have to be like, it has to be a second job, and I just don't think. Frankly, a lot of those guys they're making enough money being a position player or being a young guy, that
Yeah,
young phenom,
yeah.
or winning an MVP, that like it's more of a fun thing to me. It's just so like the whole idea of building a brand or making content and like being creative, that's just like my wheelhouse. I just really enjoy it. So I'm a little bit different than a lot of people in that regard, but it is awesome to see a lot of guys giving it a chance, at least having a little bit of like savvy now. Like if they need to do anything or they're invited to go play in any tournaments or whatever, that they know how to do it, even if they don't do it regularly, which is cool, which is great.
Yeah, so kind of tying into some of those things you were saying, like I think to be a full-time streamer like you are, to be a reliever in the majors like you are, you have to have an incredible work ethic, and you've talked about that work ethic in numerous interviews, but you've also talked about, like before the season started, you referenced the Last Dance documentary with Michael Jordan and how Michael Jordan would kind of incite fights on the field to like get himself pumped up. Well, we talk about like your work ethic, and now this season you've talked about how you feed off of fans giving you energy on the mound, and you talked about how it was going to be weird to run out onto the mound and try to like tap into your element. So I want to, and I'm sure a lot of people want to know as well, how was that being a reliever and jogging out of the bullpen every day to fake crowd noise, to cutouts in the stands? Like, was it hard right off the bat, or did you have your own little ritual that kept you going whenever you went out on the mound?
It was hard. So spring training is where things like that kind of get hard, and because if you're throwing in the backfield and stuff, there's no adrenaline happening, and you're just trying to get your work in, right? And like even warming up for a spring training game and running out there, if there's not much sound, it's tough to kind of get yourself going. But and that's kind of what it felt like at first. Like in summer camp, especially like running out there to throw against your own guys, like in a live VP, like there was nothing there. But I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't that big of a difference for me. Running out, I was just as like I had that anticipation, and that because it was all about the competition at the time, and it probably me going into a free agency year and all that kind of stuff had a factor too, because it I just
Yeah, it's a big year for you.
exactly
Yeah.
finding reasons to like get excited what wasn't hard. And then I just hate like I'm competitive in a way like obviously you can't play a professional sport if you're not competitive, but people like the feeling they get from competition is different. Some guys like are so competitive that they get super calm in competition, right? Or the game slows down a lot, or whatever it is. And I can get like that adrenaline. I can go and get it because I want the result. I can look at the result and say I want that enough, and whether the fans are there or not, they've never. I'm past the point where that affects me a lot in that moment. Maybe running out there is different and weird, but once I'm out there, the crowd kind of I feel it's weird. It suddenly happened over time. I never really noticed, but how little the crowd affects me most of the time. There's days where I'm just I don't know what hypersensitive to hearing people, but for the most part, man, I really don't hear anything at all when I'm in the heat of a big moment or whatever.
Well, like one of the other things that have been nice too is that you get to run out to your song, your welcome home song, a lot
Yeah,
louder than you probably usually get to
yeah,
hear
you
it.
could actually
So
hear it.
that
Great.
probably amped you up a lot
Yeah,
more.
and to be honest, there was no, especially in Minnesota, like for whatever reason, they like to do an ad or like a game up on the board with a fan, like in the going into the top of the eighth or whatever. A lot,
Yeah.
so, like, the setup opportunities, and sometimes into saves, there would be an ad, so no the song wasn't playing, like, whatever song they wanted to play was playing, and so you'd only get a little bit of your song, but now that there was no fans to do any of that with, and the ads were kinda pointless to do live because there's no one there to, you know, promote to, then you gotta listen to your whole song, which is great. I've been lobbying for that since I came up, like, that's, like, the biggest thing. That was the coolest thing I was excited for, to be honest, was getting your own walkout song in the major leagues, like,
Yeah.
that was always something I noticed growing up as a kid, like everyone's walkouts. So I couldn't wait to have my own like back end reliever song.
Yeah. So kind of tying into like just the work ethic thing what I was talking about earlier. So you are playing series at Target Field and you've been doing this for a while. You go on the road and you stream at the hotel. We see your tweets about the like hotspot problems, the equipment problems at hotels, and like tying into your work ethic. I mean, you absolutely don't have to stream on the road, but you consistently always try to, whether it's just to interact with fans and just chatting or playing games that don't take up a lot of like RAM on your computer. And like, so why do you feel the need to always stream on the road? Is it something to just keep you like in that balance, or like is it some other reason? I'd love to hear what your answer is to that. Hi, I'm back to interrupt this video. So I'm editing the video right now, and I am deciding to keep in the little like 30-second blip that you're about to hear, where my alert box starts going off. Trevor couldn't hear anything that was going on. At least to my knowledge, he couldn't hear anything that was going on. But the reason why I want to keep this in, I would listen to what he says. So in the part of this interview, I'm asking him about why it's so important for him to stream on the road. I mean, he's a ball player. He doesn't have to consistently stream every day, but he chooses to. And I wanted to kind of build on that and ask why. This is kind of building on that work ethic question that I've talked about a ton. about Trevor May on my streams a lot as well. And outside of the annoying bomba siren that goes off, is the last time it goes off this stream. After that, I fixed it. We're good the rest of the way. He does offer some good insight in the middle of this siren going off. So I want to apologize for my alert box not being as great as it could have been. I literally just deleted the source on my computer instead of just muting them, which is what took them away. And now I know for next interview. This is the first one I've ever done, so I think I'm allowed a little bit of leeway. But I apologize for what you're about to hear along with the interview, but I'm keeping it in because I think that it's good information he's sharing about kind of the work ethic, why he streams all the time on the road. And another thing for a lot of you who stream as well, why it's so important to stay consistent. So I'll bring you back to the video, but I'm letting you know that this next like 30 seconds is going to be a little bit annoying.
Well, if anyone has listened to the podcast, one thing that we preach a lot, or a lot of our guests preach, because the podcast, for the both of you don't know, is basically meeting someone in the content creation space, whether it's building a business around the idea of content creation, or just like finding people who are somewhere in their journey of becoming either a full time streamer or YouTuber or whatever it is, have seen success in the past, and then picking their brains on how they got there. And one thing we hear all the time is, just especially when it comes to live streaming, is consistency. You can't just disappear for 2 weeks. And that's just what I really try to keep as consistent as possible. I don't think there's been a couple times where I didn't stream for 7 days, maybe, or 8 days, because it was an extra stressful part of my career, or whatever happening. But there's only been since I started streaming over 4 years ago, or been partnered for over 4 years ago, I haven't taken a break of outside of we went on vacation once for 2 weeks. I think we went on my honeymoon opposed instead of
Can I pause you really quick? Sorry, my alerts are going off.
Good.
I don't know why my alerts are going. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Why are my alert? I turned my alerts off. Hold on.
I've had that
1 second. Too. I literally turned them off, and they are going crazy right now. Cut that out. Sorry, my bad, man. Alert box, cut that out. Okay, you were having sirens going off in the middle of our interview here. Sorry. Okay, we're good now. Sorry. Cool. I completely cut your train of thought off. Go ahead and continue.
So other than my honeymoon, I haven't taken more than a week off at any given point in the last 4 years. And that I think if you look at anyone who's made any sort of headway on either Twitch or YouTube, being very consistent over a long period of time is a really important part of it. And so I've just tried to be there. And if I do take a long period off from streaming, it's going to be on purpose. And it's going to be, just to get a cleanse going. And I haven't found the need to do that. But it's interesting. It's an interesting journey moving through this, and like how you make decisions. That's definitely true.
Yeah, so basically, sorry for everyone that was watching when my alerts I thought that I turned off were on. You basically just summing up that you don't want to take any time off because that's just a part of like what you're doing. I really respect that. Like I have days where I'm just streaming and it's hard, but you're training, you're working out, you're doing all this other stuff, and you're continuing to stream, and that's really admirable. And that's, I would imagine, a lot of reason why a lot of people watch your streams even more too.
Thank you.
Sorry, the alerts were just so weird there. Okay, back to our line of questioning here. So, going to what you're talking about with like streaming on the road. I went back and I was listening to one of the interviews you did, and so in the interview it was talking about how at a young age, I think you were 16 years old, you were put on a travel ball team that traveled around the country over weekends and played stuff like that. And I like the question that wasn't asked in the interview that I was dying to ask, and I'm about to ask right now, is you're 16 years old and you're traveling all over the country with players you don't really know, because I think you said in the interview you were playing with like different teams like almost every weekend, right? Yeah. So did that, like at 16 years old, did that grow you up really fast at a young age? Was that like terrifying at a young age, or like how did that like kind of help? Did that help to mend you into the ball player that you are today at all? Like how was that process going from all those travel ball games?
Yeah, I think that had a little bit to do with it. So just to kind of shore up that story a little bit, I played on a travel ball team based out of Seattle called the Northwest Titans. I grew up in a town 2 hours south of Seattle, so like I couldn't. They practiced during the week. I couldn't go to practice, so I like literally never practiced with them. I just threw bullpens at home with my dad. And then I would join them for tournaments. And then on weekends we didn't have tournaments. Uh, Other teams that we beat in tourneys would be like, "Hey, like, do you have a tournament this weekend? Can May come, pitch for us in Arizona?" And so that happened like 3 or 4 times that summer. I think it was the summer before my I think it was the summer between junior and senior year of high school. So I was 17 or just about to turn 17. And so uh I we would just say, yeah, I mean, we're just going for this. At that point, my parents and I had decided that like we were just gonna, the we had gotten a sponsorship from a local business that gave us, some money to go to a couple tournaments and I was starting to get seen by scouts a lot. So that was just kind of something we did. And yeah, it was weird. It was weird just showing up and like being on a team with a bunch of guys I never played with, and we're just going to play games a couple times. But it did help that I'd played against them before, so I kind of had an idea like who their best players were, right? And a couple teams out of Spokane. There was one out of Idaho I went with, and then there was a couple like select teams that were like the best in Washington that I went with, right? And I knew who all those guys were too because we'd played against them. They were on other teams in all the tournaments we were in, and then like in high school, we played like some of them were like in our league, and like so I knew some of them, and it was pretty easy to you know get acquainted and feel comfortable with them quickly. So, but yeah, I think that prepared me a little bit to go play pro ball. I still have like a little bit of anxiety built around. Like going to a new place, and like when I got traded, it was weird showing up for spring training that first time when I didn't know a single person in the
Yeah.
organization, and it's going to be weird if I am to go to another organization from here. And even as a free agent, and that gives you a little more experience. When you signed as a free agent, like you're one of the guys who's supposed to be part of the group, right? So I
Yeah.
think that's gonna help a little bit, but like we'll see. It obviously couldn't happen. I would love to go back and be where I've been this whole time and on a winning team, but who knows? But when that happens, it's gonna be. I gotta go. I'm 31. I gotta go through it again, and I haven't gone through it in a while, so there's a little bit of apprehension there. It's gonna be interesting.
So I had another question, but I want to build off of the point you were just talking about, like going to a new clubhouse. So you go from being 16, you go from making the majors, and now you're a very established right-handed reliever, and you're due for a big free agent contract. Have you like take Trevor May, who just got drafted by the Phillies, to Trevor May right now? Have you always carried yourself in the clubhouse the same way, or has like your experience given you more confidence to talk to certain people or certain coaches and do stuff like that, or have you always kind of carried yourself the same way in clubhouses?
No, it's definitely morphed over time. That's for sure. I was always a huge believer. That's why I'm such a big like I don't want to say defender, but like I'm such a big believer in why unwritten rules exist. Like certain ones do, and they're mostly like behind the scenes clubhouse things. Like you earn your ability to like lead in the clubhouse. You earn your ability to, you know, tell guys when they're they're screwing up or whatever to like pick it up. Like you earn that with your experience and your time, and there's certain things that just you're not going to be able to do unless you've been around for a while. So those things have changed a little bit too. Yeah, my ability to like um converse with coaches, approach coaches too, especially when you're like you want to change something or you don't agree with something or you're angry that something didn't happen, because that happens, right? You're not happy with how you were used or like a situation or getting pulled from a game you didn't think you could pull from. Having those conversations, that happens once a year. I gotta go have a conversation, and I'm comfortable doing that. And when I was a rookie, absolutely not. I would have just wore it and just like bottled it up, right? So yeah, you
Yeah.
get more comfortable in clubhouses the longer you're there. And this year I was the longest tenured Twin, so uh, or in service time, technically Polanco had been up for a day before me earlier a month,
Yeah.
but like but in terms of total service time, I was the longest service time Twin. So yeah, I have a certain comfort level there that was definitely different from when I was a rookie.
And then kind of going off of like just your experience with talking with coaches and stuff. You've kind of talked about on your stream before about pitching as a reliever, and something that I played catcher when I went up through college, so I don't really know a lot about pitching. I would venture a lot of people don't really know about what the pitching side of Major League Baseball is like. Specifically, what you went through, you came up as a starter originally. You've transitioned fully to the bullpen now. With that transition to being a starter to a reliever, was that something that like your dad helped you with, that you helped you with, or like a certain coach, or like how was that transition from going to a starter to being a eighth inning, ninth inning reliever in the majors now?
It actually wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. The staying prepared and learning how to warm up was the biggest thing. Like maximizing how quickly you can warm up, because as a starter, you kind of take your time and you're used to that. So those were things that I adjusted to pretty quickly. And the guys that really helped me with that were I got moved out there. Kevin Jepson was in the pen. I think Perkins was hurt, so Jepson was our closer in 15 and 16, going into 16. So we became pretty good friends, and he helped me along the way, like how to prepare and be ready to go. And then Eddie Gordado was out there in the pen with me too, and he's one of my favorites to ever do it out of bullpen, and he was always open with his recommendations and just making sure that, like, seeing where your head's at and what you're trying to do when you're out there. So having lots of conversations with those two guys helped a lot, and then you can add in a bunch of veteran relievers after that. Addison Reed, uh, uh, you know, and we had young guys, and then we had young guys out there with me too, learning at the same time. So it's a lot of bouncing ideas off each other. It's about a lot of like how to stay locked in. Well, I was out there with Matt Belisle for a while too. He loved talking pitching, so we have a lot of time out there, and it's a good time to have those conversations before you go into a game. But it only took me a few outings to really get ready to be prepared to throw at any time. I came under I came up as a like long guy, and then I had to move my way into the back end. I was just thrown into it. So I had the opportunity to like project when I might slowly project that I might be in more leverage, and that gave me time to prepare. So it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be.
Ah, cool. I would have thought it'd be a little bit harder than that, but you make it sound pretty easy. But that's why you're a major league reliever and you're due for a giant free agent contract coming up here. I've kept you a little bit longer than the time that we agreed on. I have a couple more questions if you
Yeah, go
want
for it. I'm
to field them.
long-winded.
But
I
okay,
knew it
yeah,
wouldn't be 20 minutes. Trust me. None of
okay,
my interviews have ever gotten the length that we thought they would. So
okay. So I've been hammering a lot of baseball questions at you. I want to go back to your career as a streamer. A lot of people's first interaction with Trevor May on Twitch was probably around the time when you were playing Fortnite with Ninja and basically every other content creator when that game was really big right now. But now when you go on to your Twitch channel, and actually jokingly, I was checking your Discord before I jumped in here, and you were playing Escape from Tarkov, and that's one of the main games you're playing right now. Um, like with streaming, so Fortnite was the big game when you and everybody else was streaming it. Now you're playing Tarkov, and there's a lot of other like war zones out there as well. Where do you like? How long did it take you to kind of find your niche in your niche in streaming and playing like Tarkov and other games like that?
it took a long time. I started streaming Overwatch when it first came out. Like the day it came out, I built a computer, or I had a laptop that I would stream on, and I was streaming for like 15 people. And that was just, though they were all baseball fans, and like nobody even cared that I played video games, and that's fine. But I streamed Overwatch for like over a year, then I streamed PUBG for almost a whole year, and then I switched to Fortnite after PUBG, and so I have 1,000 hours in PUBG. I have 1,500 to 2,000 hours in Overwatch. So a lot of guys, a lot of people didn't know I streamed before that at all. I'm still getting people to pop in every day like, I didn't know you streamed. I'm like, man, it's been a long time. Like like
Yeah,
Dr. Lupo's only been streaming like 8 months longer than me, right? Like a lot of people don't even
yeah,
like I've been around. I've been streaming longer than Cypher, and I've been streaming longer than a lot of people. And it's it's funny that a lot of the guys that I know or have grown really big, like, were pros in, like, games that I met, Cloaksy, and Cloak played before too, but it's funny, like, even with the podcast, we're meeting people and they're like, "Yeah, I started streaming in 2017." I'm like, "Geez." Like, because I'm an athlete, people assume that I just recently started.
yeah,
So
yeah,
how do you choose, like, how do you get locked into the games or whatever? It's just all about, like, collaboration's huge on this platform, especially Twitch. I think Among Us is the best indicator of that. People are watching it because there's so many like personalities and stuff in the games. and it's not like an inherently insanely fun to watch game. It's not like it's like you could do this with a pen and paper, right? But
Yeah.
it's just because of the people that are playing and their interactions they're having, and that's kind of what Fortnite was. That's the Tim and I've been fortunate enough to hang out with Tim a lot in real life, and Paul in real life, and Ninja and Ben and Courage and Nate Shot. I've hung out with all these guys in real life, and they're just like they're dudes I would have been friends in high school with, and they're just like they're all they're everyone's either 2 to 3 years younger to me, all the way up to 2 years older than me. Like we're all in the same like range, like where we could have been in high school at the same time. All of us could have. So like we have a lot of the same references and a lot of like we watch the same TV shows, and we were just nerdy in high school, and some of us played sports, some of us
Yeah.
didn't. And that affinity is like makes it fun to play games. Now we're like all like 30 and playing video games right in front of for people, which is super weird to think about, and would have been really weird to think about at 18. But making a lot of those friendships really helped. And I'm not gonna lie and say like, you know, uh, like if I would just hopped in and just like didn't know them very well and like try to have a good time playing Fortnite, it wouldn't have been the same. And I think that all of us just like liking each other as people makes playing the games together even more fun, which leads me to like I wish I really, really got into Warzone. And I think I would have had I had better timing. It really got big when I had to go to spring training. And
Yeah.
and that like it's like to be honest, I play Tarkov a lot because Paul really liked it. And I liked playing with Paul. And so I gave it a really good chance. And then I got really into it. And that's kind of
Yeah, you got really into it, and then all your stuff got deleted, and then that giant thing went on Twitter that
yeah.
one day, but you got it all back, so that's all good.
Exactly, and it's definitely a niche game, but the people that watch it are really, really into it. Like,
Yeah,
people who watch Tarkov are only Tarkov players for the most part because it's such a time sink, so it's the same thing with World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft, like, yes, there's a lot less people watching it on Twitch regularly, but if you're one of the people that captures that audience, they don't go anywhere. They stay with you forever, and you can
yep.
do anything, so it's just one of those games. Fortnite was a little bit different because it was just a cultural phenomenon, and but dude, that was like 2018. That offseason between 18 19 was like the best time ever in gaming, and just like coming off Tommy John and being healthy again. Like it was all happening at the same time, so it was just a ton of fun. And we did the roast of Tim the Tatman that off season too. I think that was the
That
catapult,
was a
right?
great
That was
video.
the catapult, I
That
think,
was
for
a
a
great
lot of.
video.
I mean, Ninja was already huge, but even like Lupo since then, Lupo was big at the time, right? He was 6 7,000 viewers, but like even since then, right? It's become like
Yeah.
an iconic like piece of content from him, that whole thing. And he's even grown a ton even since Fortnite. So it's been awesome to watch all my friends too grow in their different ways and like find things that are making them happy in content creation. And I'm enjoying Tarkov and stuff, but I'm looking forward to kind of finding that new game that's going to be the full time bay, if you will.
Yeah, but like even going into Escape from Tarkov, it's not like you're just playing the game either. Like the liability boys with like you, Jen, like that whole team is like really fun for all of us to watch. Like the back and forth on
Mhm.
Twitter, like that's definitely like going into what you're talking about with the people playing Tarkov. That's got to be another fun avenue for people to like laugh and enjoy whenever you guys are all playing together.
Yeah, I mean, Twitch is just a huge, 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 huge just pool of people and inside jokes. Like Like the whole thing, the whole like everyone who watches, for example, XQC is my favorite example of this. Like his entire channel is just like meme and inside joke after meme and inside joke, and it's amazing. Like he's got one of the most loyal communities ever. He's a very unique person, very unique personality. But the people that are there just absolutely love him because when you're there, you have to be there to get it, if that makes sense. And so
Yeah.
if you
Yep.
get it, you're part of the group. And I think that's why like they they love him so much, and they love being there and love being part of that community. And there's lots of people to do that. Lyric, Soda Poppin's got a cult following, I would say. Like he can not
Yeah.
stream for 2 months, come on and be like, oh hey, 40,000 people. Like
Yeah. Everybody's always
yeah,
there.
everyone's always
Yeah.
there, and it's just like, and he's one of the OGs, and that's rare to do, but that's something you see on this platform that you like don't see on YouTube, or you don't see on. It's different. It's like a constant interaction situation, and that's why I love it so much. That's why I was so I think like that's why I gravitated towards Tim so much, because he's a guy who does that as well so well, and it's like it fits my personality well. I think I'm a very big like inside joke guy. Like that's my humor. That's all my friends growing up. That's what we did. So it's just like I have an affinity for kind of this type of entertainment, and I think that's why I like doing it so much.
Yeah, so you have a tournament that you're about to play in. I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I'll just do a couple of quick hitting
Okay.
questions, some that I got from my chat. My wife had a question she wanted to ask as
Okay.
well. Her question right off the bat. So you play baseball. Is there any like ballpark snack that you love to have like as a kid when you went to games, or were you never really big into getting snacks when you went to the stadium, or what was your go-to?
Popcorn.
Popcorn?
Popcorn, kettle corn, like that. I'm huge on that in movie theaters too. Like we have to have it. We can't not have popcorn. So popcorn was always a big one, and then playing. It's actually hilarious because this became an inside joke this year because they were gone. I couldn't find them, but dried mango, for whatever reason, gives me
Really?
energy, and I love I have like a 10-pound bag in my office right now with me because I love it. And we used to get these little packs of it at the field, and for whatever reason this year it slipped through the cracks because of COVID, and like just the planning, everything, all the plans for snacks and stuff just went out the window, and they rewrote them basically. And dried mango fell through the cracks, so I'd always joke, like I'd walk by the little snack rack we had in our food room this year, and I'd be like, "Where's the dried mango?" I like just yell it just
Yeah.
to be annoying. And then like the last series, like last second game against Cincinnati this year, I walk in, there's dried mango. I'm like, there's just no way. So
No way. That's
it was
funny.
really funny, but yeah, that's for whatever reason the last 5 years or so has just become my go-to before a game.
So then, you talk a lot on your streams about I can't remember the ring that you wear for your sleeping, but you take a lot of care in your nutrition and all this stuff like that. When you get to the off season, do you have a favorite meal that you have been waiting to eat since you couldn't eat it during the season? Like maybe it's a big carb meal or something like that, or is that just not something you usually deviate
No,
from?
no, I definitely come home and start just eating tons of Mexican food. No offense to no offense to Minneapolis. There's just not as many. Like, there's just not a lot of like easy Mexican food places available. There's a few, but there's not a lot. American food is definitely the go-to. Everyone's got American fusion there, which is I love American food. So like, all kinds of burger sandwiches and different ways to make fries and tots. Like, but I'm all
Yeah.
about it. Like, I love that too. So like, I transitioned from like eating tons of American food to coming home and just eating like so many burritos in a row that it's
Oh, I could eat a burrito every day. It's so
so.
good.
And to be honest, I'm not as strict as a lot of people think I am with the nutrition. I go through phases. Baseball's just not as it's such a like a lower energy, as at least for a pitcher. Like I'm out there doing 10 minutes of really heavy energy, release during a day, but like for the most part it's all pretty like light per se. And so it's just all about like maintaining energy levels and just trying to not eat anything too heavy. So it's like just a lot of grazing. Like I do a lot of grazing. And it's not necessarily like I can't have any sugar. It's just like, balancing those things a little bit. So it's just about being logical. But during the off season, man, first 2 weeks, I come home and like I'll be like Popeyes every day. I don't care. And then you get kind of
Yeah.
gross, and I get to the point where I'm like, I'm not sleeping good, and I'm not really feeling very energized during the day either. So I want to have energy again. Let's cleanse this up a bit. I was happy for the 5 minutes after I ate these things, and I just felt bad. And like you said at the very beginning of the interview, I just have I need to like have 10 hours energy a day to get everything done I want to get done. And so
Yeah.
food and drink and sleep has a lot to do with that.
Just two more quick
Mhm.
questions. Well, this one might not be quick, but you can answer it quick if you want to. You've talked a lot on your streams about just like how you feel about baseball in general. This was a weird 60 game season. I'm 99% sure we're going back to 162 next year, but I'm not really sure. You're a baseball player. You're one of the biggest free agents that's going to be on the 2021 market. What would be like your ideal playoff format and ideal regular season? Like, do you want 162 and do you want the playoff format we had last year? Do you have a different idea of how you'd want it? Like, what would you do if you were the commissioner of baseball?
Well, if we're gonna have, I think ideally 120 games is good season length, but if we're gonna play a full season, if we're gonna go to spring training, we're playing 162, and it's just gonna be because that makes more money. And so that number is very unlikely to ever go down. And that's just the way it is. We're not in a situation where we're making decisions based on like career longevity and keeping guys healthy. Like that's not why decisions are made. It's not really about the players at all. It's just about maximizing profits because it's an entertainment industry technically. So that makes sense. But so that what I think would be great for players, it will never align with what owners want, and that's just the fact. But going into next year, I think 160. I think that without any hiccups getting through the World Series too, definitely going to get 162. Spring training might look a lot different, right? It might start a little bit later. It might be a little bit shorter. You know, in terms of like how many games are played in spring training, might get shaved down a bit, or like more like you know days where there's no games but there's practice and stuff might happen maybe, but I could see it really just going off without a hitch, especially in Florida. Like if we go in Florida in March, they'll just fill up the stadiums. They don't care. Like frankly, like they've proven very little that they care, and I don't think that we need to act like they do anymore. And and they can make the decisions they want to make, and the teams are going to make the decisions they're going to make, and the players just have to do the best they can, just like we did this year. So, but in terms of playoff format, this year can't happen the exact same way it happened. I think that everyone knows that, because winning your division has to matter. Because if it doesn't, then the season doesn't really matter as much. And you're playing a lot of like not if you're the best team in your division and it's kind of obvious, you're playing a lot of pointless games, and wasting a lot of bullets, and that's going to change how those games are played like drastically, especially as the season gets towards the end, because clinching won't matter as much. And so now adding to the wild card round is interesting to me. Like making a 3-game series, or even adding another team, or even factoring a bye somehow. Um, After that, but I think the reason the wild card works so well is because it doesn't create a bunch of time between the last day of the season and then when the division rounds start, and that's why that works. And so making that longer then creates a bunch of other problems. But having 8 teams where like the 1 seed plays an 8 seed and you're still in a 3-game series, baseball just 3-game series doesn't it has to be 5. They just can't be 3. So if you're going to
Yeah.
do it, it needs to be a 5-game series to start the season, so that the best team actually shows that they're the best team, right? Has the opportunity to show their best team. And so if you're going to do it, you got to make them all division series, and the wild card round needs to be the same length as the division series. Now that's more games, obviously, and so you know,
But that could work with your 120 game regular
oh,
season
100%.
formula, because you're adding more games to the playoff, and then that's more money for owners
That
too.
would be the trade off for sure. But it wouldn't be 120. It'd be like 151 or something. Like they'd shave 10 off, right? Max. Like it would never be. But maybe this is a great opportunity to see how much more, like how much, because there's going to be so little money made off the regular season this year and so much more made in the playoffs. Like they might have made more money this month than they did the last 3 overall. If that's the case, then it's a good starter for talking about how to adjust the regular season and then really focus on the playoffs. And to be honest, if that was the trade-off, I think a lot more players would get behind it, and a lot more agents would get behind it, because there'd be more money on the table. And then it would make the regular season more valuable too. Meaning free agents are more valuable, meaning war is more
Yep.
valuable, meaning, and that's, agents are trying to get their players paid and therefore themselves paid. That makes sense. The owners are trying to get themselves paid and try to make their franchise is worth as much money as possible, so making the playoffs helps. And the players are trying to make as much money as they can, why they have the ability to play. Like that's that's something we all have in common. So if we can do something that's find some middle ground where that's advantageous, to where we're staying healthier because we're playing less games, but we also have a really good opportunity to make more money in the playoffs, and the owners have that same thing happening, then it's much more likely to work. But in terms of how it is this year, there needs to be adjustments off of this exact format for sure.
Well, I had one more question to ask, but you have a tournament to warm up on, and I've definitely kept you way past your
If you got
say.
one more, the tournament doesn't start for 2 hours, so don't even worry about it.
Oh, okay. Well, then, so one of the people in my chat, and I thought this was an interesting question, said, what is one player, regardless of team, that they said that you stop what you're doing to watch them hit BP? If you have a player that you stop what you're doing to watch hit BP.
Someone I've seen hit tons of BP. Miguel Sano has days where there's no balls in the stadium anymore. He hits like 7 straight out of the stadium or like the top deck, right? In target field. He's one of those guys, I think he's up there with like watching Stanton or what I don't even think Judge really does that. I think he's a lot of like just, spraying around the field, but Stanton has that round where he's just like, all right, let's see how far I can hit it. Those guys kind of have to have that mindset. So watching Miguel Sano on my team again. Eddie Rosario will have those days where he's just back spinning balls. Josh Donaldson will get where he gets a really good swing and it's just like really pretty how it flies out of the park. But in terms of raw power, man, the only person that ever rivaled Sano, in my opinion, because even Nelly Cruz can hit the ball real far, obviously, but like in terms of just consistently like 500-foot shots, Sano's like in a class of his own. But the only other guy I've seen even close to him is Kenny Vargas. That guy can hit the
Really?
ball
Yeah, he can hit the ball
7,000
really
feet. I'm
far.
pretty sure his longest was farther than Miguel's. I think Miguel's just like he's so strong and he just doesn't get tired like Kenny's would.
Yeah.
So I bet you Sano and Stanton would be a really, really impressive, like just BP back-to-back session. I'm trying to think of someone
I'm
else that's
pretty
like that. Soler is
yeah.
pretty dang impressive. But again, he's like got that one, like that left center swing. Like his
Yep.
homers look different, Oppo, right? Miguel's look
Yeah.
the same everywhere.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Kenny's Vargas is the longest home run in target
Yeah, I'm
field
pretty
history,
sure.
but I can't.
It's like
Yeah.
no, actually, the longest homer ever hit is Nelly Cruz, but it was against us.
Oh, you're
Off
right. When he was on the
Duffy.
Mariners,
Yeah,
yeah.
478.
Yeah. I wonder if that's brought up in the clubhouse at all between
Is a
him and
lot.
Duffy.
Yeah, it is a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Trevor, thank you for taking time out of your day to do this interview. Best of luck in the tournament you have coming up here in a little bit. Sorry about the audio
All good, man.
difficulties earlier. I thought I shut off Alert Box, but evidently I did not.
It's all good, dude. Stuff happens. I'm glad I could come on and we could actually have a conversation finally.
Yeah, one of the quotes you had in one of your other interviews was you said, I want to be known for more things than you can count on your fingers, and you've certainly accomplished that so far. You're heading into the free agent market. You're due for a really big contract, and no matter where you go, I and a lot of people in my chat will be rooting for you like crazy. Your charity work that you do with Gamers Outreach and other organizations like that is incredible, and you're an awesome streamer, and I enjoyed watching you perform on the field and be on Twitch, and best of luck in the future for you, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. You have a great rest of your stream, all right?
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.